Well, that's actually a decent segue for our first review. Speaking of people shouting loudly,
Yes.
we watched the newish Black Clover movie,
Yeah.
Sword of the Wizard King.
Yes. Which and I will say, going into this, I'd never seen anything Black Clover related. Like, I didn't know anything about it.
On my end, I have the weirdest exposure to this series you can imagine. I have seen the entire first season
Mm,
because a while back Xbox was doing a giveaway where it's like they're trying to encourage you to buy more seasons of it.
yeah.
And then I had a friend who was watching through it, and he would occasionally say, "Oh, we need to watch these episodes." And he never really showed me the fight scenes. What he would show me would be, he would show me you know, like for most series, they'll have like, you know, big fight scene, then you'll have like a couple of sort of more goofy episodes to that just kind of to break up the action.
Yeah.
He would always show me the goofy episodes because that was his favorite part of the series was just the characters in these mundane situations. So I was in a similar place, and part of the reason I picked this was that I decided to get my own Netflix account rather than sponge off my parents.
Mm.
Sidebar review: the Netflix advertisements don't seem to be too obnoxious.
Oh, that's good.
I've only tried movies so far, so I don't know how that will hold true for TV shows. That could be where it gets bad if they put ads wherever there was an ad break before.
Right. Yeah. Mm.
But yeah, not I mean for $7 a month, you know, I already got my money's worth because I didn't have to buy this digitally or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Um, now, this is in the proud tradition of shonen animes that are canon-ish, where from what research I did, it appears to be a totally unique plot that is not pulled from the manga.
Mm.
I would say that they did a pretty decent job making it so that you could believe it was actually canon to things.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, so if you're like Daniel, you've never seen Black Clover before, basically Black Clover is kind of the latter day Naruto, is how I'd kind of put it.
Mm.
Though with a couple of improvements from my perspective. Uh, the It's basically you have Asta, who is a non-magic user in a world where magic use determines your social rank.
Yeah, sort of like Midoriya in My Hero Academia.
Yes, only with more societal discrimination as opposed to just bullying.
Yeah.
And instead of eating some strange older man's hair, Asta gets the power. Like everybody who has a magic gets a grimoire that has their spells in it,
Mm.
and he gets a special grimoire of anti-magic. So basically, he's so not magic that he breaks the system.
Yes. Yeah.
And but because he's, you know, he technically sucks, he ends up being assigned to uh, this group of wizards called the Black Bulls, who are a bunch of misfits, weirdos, perverts, and and all around good for nothings, but
Yeah.
who keep pulling it out in the clutch.
Yeah. It's sort of like fairy tale.
Yes. Oh yeah. So no one would ever accuse Black Clover of being particularly original. Like let's just get this out of the way right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and so it's basically Asta going on adventures, and uh, that's the long and short of it.
Yeah. And he wants to be the Wizard King one day.
Oh, I forgot. So it's almost like it's like an unholy combination of Naruto, My Hero Academia, and One Piece.
Yeah. Yes.
So, Daniel, tell us about the plot of this movie.
Okay, so the plot of the movie is a previous Wizard King. I can't remember, Julius, is that his name?
Yeah.
uh, it opens with him. He's trying to use what's called the 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 sword. Yeah, the title of the movie, the Sword of the Wizard King, and because he's trying to destroy the world because of the inequality and discrimination that happens. But then he gets stopped and sealed away for 10 years. And then they flash forward 10 years to the uh, magic tournament that they're holding to have the next Wizard King.
I,
And
I I don't know if it was for to have the next Wizard King or if it was just like a bout for the sake of having a bout.
oh, okay.
I could be mistaken.
Yeah, a lot happened. There's a lot of stuff happens in this movie. It's
Uh,
kind of hard to keep it all straight.
and especially for somebody who hadn't ever seen it before. So,
Yeah, yeah. Um, the opening round features the two main characters. You had, Yuno, who's like the the perfect mage, and
he's the Sasuke.
he's the Saska, and then Asta shows up in disguise.
It's really hilarious to me that he decided to show up. So in the series, apparently at this point, he has either been banished or he's a fugitive from the law. But he decides to show up for this wizards tournament in a cloak. Then he proceeds to bust out the completely distinct anti-magic sword to, to fight with Yuno in the first round of this tournament.
Yeah, gee, I wonder who that could be.
It marks the worst disguise in anime since that time that Usopp showed up with a golden mask that still had a really long nose and
Yeah,
called himself Soga King. It
yeah.
was clearly just Usopp wearing a yellow mask.
Yeah. Yeah, so then but then the tournament gets spoiled when the evil old wizard king shows up with some friends, past wizard kings, evil wizard kings.
Yep, because you can add to the list of things that this draws from Avatar: The Last Airbender. Because the sword has a piece of the soul of each wizard king in it, and he's able to reconstitute the dead wizard kings from their soul fragments.
Right. And and each one of them has their own distinct magical attacks that are just overpowered and devastating for our heroes. And they have to go off and get help from this magical lab, and then things just kind of progressively get worse, and then eventually they all band together, and Asta gives them a really big pep talk, and they go off to save the day.
Yep. So right. I mean, spoiler alert. And the series does not end with a non-canon movie with the world being wiped out.
Right. Yeah.
So like, so if you ask, what's the story about? I was about to make a disparaging comment about for these one-shot shonen movies that's never what the point of it is. It's a romp with your characters with a better budget.
Yeah.
But I would actually say that as far as these go, this one is actually kind of interesting because it kind of asks the question of what if Asta was the villain, or like what would Asta be like as a villain,
Hmm.
since they have the same kind of motivation, which is they both are trying to deal with the inequality of the world. Just that Asta believes in incrementalism, and our main villain is a typical Sephiroth type who wants to hit the reset button on the Earth and try again.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and two, you've also got like um the the one character, the girl,
Oh, Noel.
Noelle, yeah, who's like she's a noble, right? And yeah.
Right. Uh, yeah, Noel is. I remember like watching a video on YouTube like 5-ish years ago where people were arguing that Black Clover is a better harem anime than most harem animes because there are a surprisingly large number of girls who are interested in Asta, considering that he's kind of a spaz who shouts all the time.
Yeah.
By the way, you watched it in English, right?
Yes.
The Japanese voice of Asta is like ear poison.
Oh, really?
Like the way he screams all the time. I forget if they recast him or made him tone it down. In that,
Uh, okay.
it's much more bearable in the English version.
Okay. Yeah. There are just so many characters in this
Yeah,
story. It's kind of hard to keep them all straight. Like,
yeah, it's kind of amazing when you think about it that they managed to have so many characters, and they really gave everybody a chance to do something cool,
yeah,
which a lot of these movies fail.
yeah, and they get like you get like the captains who get like they have to do their own, and they have to, well, not just the captains but all of them, they split all of the kings up, and they all have their own fights with them in like different parts of the world.
Yeah, and considering that they're characters who are designed to live and die in the same movie, I think they did a decent job distinguishing the kings apart from each other.
Yeah. Yeah, and one of them, we were talking before the show, is definitely as Death from Akame ga Kill.
Yeah, this redhead up here,
Yeah.
and what's really funny is that her opponent is this other redhead here, who I'm going to show a series of pictures here.
All right.
So I forget her name, but this is the fire mage who wears kind of an open shirt tunic
Hmm.
and fist fights with fire, which
Yeah.
looks suspiciously like Natsu
Nuts.
from Fairy Tale.
Yeah.
Similar sort of fashion sense.
Yes.
And her opponent is the redheaded S-Death lookalike here,
Yeah.
who, when she decides to take it seriously and stop fighting through minions, ends up in armor that looks suspiciously like like
There's
Ezra
a,
Scarlet from Fairy Tale.
yeah.
So I think that was an intentional visual reference. It had to be.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too.
But yeah, so like I would say that as far as movies of this stripe go, it had more going for it than a lot of them do, even for series
Mhm.
I'm more familiar with.
Yeah, there, for me, like, there was obviously there was a lot of in universe references, like inside baseball stuff
Mhm.
that they would mention that I'm like, okay, I don't know what the deal is with that. Okay, this person over here that just kind of shows up. I'm like, okay, I don't know who that is, but all right, whatever.
I'll roll with it.
Yeah. But yeah, it's very action heavy, if that's your thing.
Yep.
Um,
It's got a little bit of a plot. And okay, so here's kind of the other secret about Black Clover. Yeah, I think this is part of why it works as well as it does. They tend to keep most of the characters pretty simple because there are so many freaking characters.
yeah.
Like you might have noticed that early on, like there was the guy who was there looking at a picture of his sister, talk about how much he loved his sister. That's like his one thing. Like most of the characters have the one character trait or joke,
Yeah.
and basically everybody got their one character trait or joke to happen.
Yeah, and then there was the one character who looked like Marilyn Manson.
Yeah, and who always whispers most of his lines.
Yeah.
The only time he talks at a normal volume is when he's casting a spell, it seems.
Yeah.
But like if you I forget if you watch the sub if they actually like they actually subtitle his lines. But
Uh,
like if you turn up the volume or get it very close, you can actually hear what he's saying. Like he's not just he is
mm.
actually saying the lines just very 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 quietly.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, like it it addresses it, it is oddly enough slightly political, which
Mhm.
I which is weird to say for this type of show, but it is basically just like, yeah, incrementalism and change is hard, but your utopia is going to involve an awful lot of bodies, especially because this guy is playing God, because he'll get to destroy the Clover Kingdom, and then
Hmm.
he'll choose who's worthy of being revived.
Yeah, basically Thanos to an even greater extreme.
Yeah, exactly. Like Thanos at least rolled the dice on which half died.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. This guy's like, okay, you're gonna come back. You don't. You don't. You don't. You do. You do. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I would say that if you're just looking for a good old fashioned shonen brawl, this one has really top tier animation, some cool fight scenes. The plot is pretty darn basic,
Yeah.
but it's Black Clover. You're not really here for the plot or deep characterization. The fact that the villain had characterization and motivation at all is honestly a surprise for this sort of movie.
Yes. Yeah.
So, by those very specific metrics, I can give it a recommend.
Indeed. Yes, I can too. Yeah. And even with my like little to no knowledge of Black Clover, and you're more more knowledgeable, but
It's still limited. Yeah.
it's still limited. Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah. Right. So